Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so glad that you could join us today. And this week we are going to look at the communication styles that we as parents have or exhibit even as we communicate with our children and more so our teenagers, because we all have a style that we use to relate our information such that it's not what we say that really influences how our teenagers respond. It's how we say it, and that's what we will look at as we go along. We look at 4 types, and one of them, which will be the last one to discuss, is the ideal one. But then I'd like you to have a listen at the other 3 and see where you might fall. And even as we begin, I like to remind us, let us subscribe so that this information can get even to many more other parents. So let's begin. The first communication style we look at is the aggressive parenting communication style. And as the name implies, this is a parent who approaches the teenager with a bit of aggression. And this can come in form of a harsh tone. The way they talk, it can come out as so harsh and very intimidating to this teenager that they would not even want to communicate further. And even the words they use, they may not even use any vulgar language or any demeaning language, but the way the words are coming out, it can really cause the teenager to fear and wonder why that harsh tone is coming in and cause them to retreat back. Then there's threats. So you may not really use harsh tone as such, but then there is that coming with a lot of threats. I will do this, I will take away that. I will not give you this. You know what I have done, and because of that, this will be the outcome. And yes, sometimes our teenagers need to be warned about their various behaviors and how it affects them. But then when the threats are too much, that also affects how we communicate with them. We are using this threat to gain power over them because we sometimes don't believe as we are, or even as we just talk nicely without or offering them so many threats that we will not be able to reach out to them. Another aspect of their being an aggressive parent, it is interrupting when the teenager is talking or explaining their position. And I know sometimes it is true. Our teenagers can talk and we can really feel like, what are you saying? You're not making any sense. So why should I allow you to continue talking? So this is a parent who will keep interrupting the teenager until the teenager will roll their eyes or they will just keep quiet and not say anything. And that then again will cause the parent to become more aggressive because you do not understand why they have stopped talking or why they are rolling your eyes. But chances are high if you're the aggressive type, it's because of these body languages and the interruption that causes them to retreat back and not respond to how you are talking. So the interruptions really is a way of being aggressive and trying to gain back that control. And then use of intimidating body language. You can stand there and raise and shoulders like that, or even how you're pointing at them or how you're looking at them. That can really be intimidating and very aggressive for this teenager. And you can imagine for some of them, they will feel already because you are already the authority in that home. And more so, especially for the fathers who tend to do that, it really causes the child to cave in and to give in to what your demands are, because out of fear and out of that intimidating body language, that you're not really physically fighting them, but from the way you're standing and talking and all this combined, they feel like this is already combative and it is only a matter of time whereby it can become, it's only that physical exchange is not occurring. So those are the 4 main qualities of an aggressive parenting style. And how does it affect our teenager? As I have mentioned, there'll be a lot of fear even in coming to talk to you about something. So if you notice, especially for the fathers also and some mothers who tend to be aggressive, if you notice that your teenager does not come to you or when you talk, an aggressor, most chances are high they do not read the nonverbals because they are consumed with that aggression that they have, and a good chunk of the time they are frustrated and angry. So there's a lot of fear. If you look in their eyes, if you look at the posture of this teenager, they'll be really fearful of this parent and avoid asking them for things directly and use the other parent to approach, or just remain there in suffering to avoid this feeling like they are not powerful, or they are almost being threatened for them to be defeated. There's also rebellion. They tend to be rebellious, especially if it is done for too long, and so this rebellion is coming from I am powerless, I cannot do this, I cannot confront this parent, I cannot argue back, or I cannot fight them. They are older than me, they are bigger than me, so they tend to do things that we do not appreciate most of the time, or we do not want them to do, and in that manner. So that's why you would wonder, this parent is so harsh. You look at a child and you look at the parent, even it can be even one of the parent, they are very firm, strict, but then you look at the child, they are very rebellious. It could be a reaction to what is happening, and them trying to show that I can also be powerful in my own way. This broken trust, because they cannot trust a person who approaches them with threats, with a harsh tone, with the intimidating body language, or even interrupting them. If they feel that I cannot share something completely and this person listens to me, then they will not trust you with any information. And then lastly, they will model that aggression later on in life. They are likely to copy the same thing in the relationships that they go to in the next one, because that is what that has been modeled for them in the life that they have been with this parent. So is that, even as we finish, do you think you fall under that category? Do you react most of the time in this manner? So you need to sit back and look at it. But a few suggestions I can say with God's help is trying to remain calm even whenever a situation has happened. And if you notice that you're becoming aggressive, or you're becoming frustrated and you're boiling up, just take some time and calm down, then come back to have this conversation. Then what you do, because an aggressor is likely to focus on the person more than the behavior, you need to paradigm shift to occur, whereby you tend to focus more on the behavior and not really attacking the teenager as a person, because that is what ends up happening. It is now not about the behavior that they have done, and you are not separating the two, but we are the aspect goes that we are now attacking the core of this person. It's like this behavior and this person are one. But yet we need to realize that sometimes the behavior is not the teenager. These are two different things, and we want to know them, that we are really addressing this behavior and not the person as an individual. And then lastly, you can learn to listen first. Be the one to sit back and allow them to talk and to listen until they keep quiet. They have nothing more to share. With them, if you allow them to continue talking, you will finally get to the heart of what they are sharing with you. And that is the first parenting style, which is the aggressive parenting style. So now let's look at the second one. The second parenting style is the passive parenting style, which is now the complete opposite of the one that we were looking at, the aggressive type. And so the passive person, the passive parent, they avoid conflict. They do not want to get into any argument with the teenager. They just want their peace. They just want their calmness. They don't want it to be affected in any way, and just for them to be. So what happens, any conflict that happens, they do not even if they notice it, they might address it very minimally or just ignore that it was there. And then they tend to be a bit vague. The teenager has done something, maybe they're hanging out with the wrong friends, but they're not addressing it directly. They are beating around the bush instead of hitting the mark directly on the head, because what they fear is that if I talk about this particular a conflict, so I'd rather be and not say that it is about peer pressure. We need to sit down and talk about peer pressure, what it is about and how it affects you directly, and this person are the ones who are going to, that is more direct. His parent will just talk about general, peer pressure is bad, it is not good, it can influence you badly, it can affect your life, but we are really not getting to the heart of talking the specific thing that the teenager has done that has caused the challenge that you're going through. Also, they give in very easily because of this desire to have peace in the home and and to maintain their own peace. And sometimes it is quote unquote a false peace, which we can look at another video. They tend to give in easily. and they will accept and they will allow the teenager to do what they want, or even if it's correcting them and giving them consequences, they will tend to, if the teenager talks a bit and to convince you, will easily give in and allow them to have their way, or you will not even deal with that issue at all. And these are the parents that teenagers tend to read very easily, and they manipulate easily because they see that aspect of you wanting peace. And when they learn that, they will use that and they will overuse it, and you will feel so helpless as a parent. These are parents who are really easily feel helpless because of how the child is taking advantage of them and not knowing what to do next. And then they give unclear expectations, because this is the passive type. They want to maintain the peace and how everything is working out. So they don't tell you directly that I want these dishes or this room cleaned by 4 p.m. or by 5 p.m. And I want you home by 7 p.m. to be in the house. No, they just give unclear expectations such that, I want you home always early at home. When I get back, I want to find your bedroom and dishes that they are. And yes, it is okay once in a while to give such and leave the teenager to figure out. But sometimes this teenager is left wondering. They were just told come home early. For a teenager, early can be 8, or 7 p.m. and maybe early you meant 6 p.m. And so when you come this week, you're angry at them and you give them a consequences next week, and you're still not clear it is what time, or you're not still not clear how you want it done. So there's these unclear expectations because there's that fear if I go directly and attack and we talk really clearly about it, there's that fear that it might bring conflict and disagreement and the likes, and of which maybe this parent does not want to get to that point. And so what does this result in that teenager? How does it impact a teenager? They feel confused because they're not sure of the boundaries. The boundaries are not clear. The rules are just general. They do not know, okay, so do I do this or do I do that? So is 7 p.m. okay, or is it 6 p.m.? So if I talk like this, is it okay? Will my mother not respond, or will they respond? So everything is unclear, and they are so confused, and which leads to a lot of anxiety also, because they just have to cross their fingers and hope how they are doing things is okay, or they did not cross a certain boundary because it wasn't made clear what is what. Then another impact is that the limit pushing. They will tend to push your limits because they know this person is a bit quote unquote weak, and they do not easily make the right, they do not easily make decisions, or if they make, I can just twist my request a bit and they will say yes to it. And so they will end up having their way most of the time. Then they feel insecure because when they are with a parent who just allows them to be, sometimes they make decisions, sometimes it's not clear. So even for them as a teenager, as much as they get their way in some things, they feel insecure because it's like this parent doesn't really know how to make a firm decision. They are not firm. They cannot clearly say that my mom in this area, or my dad, this is it. This is the clear line. You cannot cross it. And so that, them knowing that, it gives them a sense of security that I have a firm parent who really can protect me in case of anything. As much as sometimes the rule really is doesn't favor them, but generally they can use that firmness in other area of their life and feel secure that my parent is someone who makes these decisions firmly. And then there's resentment in the process because you're neither here nor there. And this teenager can push the limits so often. So they resent that a person who is firm, a person who has a station and the like. So they will tend not to really know or appreciate, or even respect kind of how you are a parent, because of that excessive passiveness that you end up being like a doormat to other people if that is how you are, even in the outside world. So that is how slowly by slowly resentment can come in, because sometimes this is a character that is also transferred outside. So I don't know if you are a passive kind of parent, but if you are, what you can do instead as we go along is be clear. Be very clear with the rules, with the timings and the likes. It is not easy at first, but with time you can really get to know that your child can easily know. So instead, you can ask them even for advice. Do they really know your position in various, or are those positions very vague? The limits. You tell them, I will say no, please don't repeat it because I will not budge. And if you keep repeating the same request, I will add a consequence to it. And make sure you enforce that consequence, because and so that eventually they learn that I cannot keep pushing this limit. Lastly, you address the discomfort that is there for you. Why is there this discomfort to be firm and to have the rules and just to really share your position? What is happening there? And how can you work around it? Because even a teenager can notice this discomfort, and they will interpret to some extent that anything that makes you uncomfortable, we are not supposed to deal it as a family or as an individual. So those are a few pointers. I'll be breaking this communication style discussion into a two-part series. So today we've discussed on the aggressive communication style and the passive communication style. Next week we'll look at the other two, which is the passive aggressive and the assertive communication style. So hopefully, please, I will see you next week to complete that discussion. And even as we sign out, remember to subscribe and even go to our website and have a look at the resources we have there. We have books on communication. We have books on how you can set boundaries with your teenager. Most of these are ebooks and a few guides here and there. And also our conversation starter cards, which are free, that can help you to start a discussion on any topic with your teenager. That is bye for now.